Shalom. I want to start off with giving our praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wahakudash. I want to get double honors to our apostles and elders who great millstone who rule well, and peace, blessing, and salutations to the whole elect of Israel. And this is the brother Zakaria from the GMS Des Moines branch, coming again with another lesson on this Sirach 37, 27, and 28. And I had gathered some precepts just to tie in, with the precepts. But I had also went on the chat and gathered certain things from the chat, which I'll explain. Which is gonna show, like, for example, how it says, "Prove thy soul." This was from the chat, and then it gave, this little statement here. But it's all tying in, to the precepts. To the precept of Sirach 37, 27, and 28. And Lord will, this lesson is edifying. I'm going to jump right into it. This is Sirach 37 and verse 27. Well, I'm going to read this basically like the title that I got here. So it's Sirach 37 and 27 and 28. It say, "Are going into self-examination, self-control, and discernment." Self-examination, self-control, and discernment. And these are key tools that we need within this ministry, within one's character, within your conduct, on how you operate, on how you live, according to the ways of the Lord, making sure we're moving according to the ways of the Lord, self-examining, making sure we're not moving outside of the ways of the Lord, having that self-control, having that balance within our life, and the things that could take us away from the Lord and things that can add to the Lord, having that self-control and that discernment, knowing what's right and what's wrong for you. But this Sirach chapter 37, verse 27, it said, "My son, prove thy soul and thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it." So we know ourselves. It said, "Know ye not your own selves?" So we should know what's good for us and what's bad for us, and don't feed it. Now, this is what the chat gave. It says to prove thy soul. It says this means test yourself, examine your own desires, habits, weaknesses, and tendencies. So that's what we have to do. Examine our own desires. Am I indulging in this more, or doing this more and less this in the spirit, and knowing our habits, knowing our weaknesses, knowing where we are weak at, and to combat those weaknesses with habits. To substitute those weaknesses with habits that's beneficial for us in the spirit and those tendencies. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. It says, "Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves? How that Yahweh Mashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates? But I trust that ye shall know that we are not reprobates." So we know ourselves. And we have to make sure that we're moving according to the ways of the Lord, so that the Lord don't deny us, so that we don't be a reprobate. Walking on eggshells, having the fear of the Lord, and knowing what's good for you and what's not. Because one thing might be good for another brother, but it might not be good for you. This Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 40. "Let us search and try our ways, and turn again to Yahweh." So search and try our ways. Let us search and try our ways. Search and try your own ways. Test yourself. Look deeply within oneself. Scrutinize, like the bro out here in our camp, Yeshaya say. Scrutinize. Looking into our deeper self on the things that we're weak in and strong in. And fix those things. Strengthen those areas that you're strong in. Keep strengthening that. And then those weaknesses, strengthen those weaknesses. But that we're looking for those weaknesses so that we can fix it. And I also looked up the word try in this Lamentations 3 and 40 in the blue letter. And this chakwar. In this context, in this verse, it means to search for, search out, examine, investigate. So we have to examine and investigate ourselves, and to turn to the Lord while doing so. So fixing those things that's opposite of the Lord, and correcting it so that we can get closer to the Lord. Because the Lord putting us in these situations so that we can fix ourselves, to grow, mature, and develop in the spirit. And say to search for, to search through, explore, to examine thoroughly. I like that. To examine thoroughly. It says to be searched out, be found out, be as certain, be examined, to search out, seek out. And I put here in the Strong's, it says the same Hebrew word. So in the Strong, it's the same Hebrew word, chakwar, for try. The same Hebrew word for try. And then when you look into the Strong's, it is say to examine intimately. And it says it's a very close, deep, or personal way. So we examine it very close, deep, or in a personal way for ourselves, for our own growth and development. Fixing what we need to fix for our character, our flaws, and things that's a hindrance to our growth, and looking deep for those things to fix it. It says pay attention to what spiritually harms you personally. So we got to pay close attention to those things that spiritually harms us personally. And we don't want to be spiritually harmed, because it turns us away from the Lord. And we don't want to go down that path. It says see what is evil for it. So something may not be unlawful in general, but it might be harmful to you. And then it gave examples. It says certain environments may stir up temptation. Certain conversations may weaken your discipline. Certain foods, habits, or pleasures may overpower you. It's about knowing your own weaknesses. And it just gave, some examples. But looking at your character on things that may harm you, or knowing your weaknesses and how to perfect it. Like I said, something may not be unlawful in general, but it might be harmful to you. It might not be expedient for you in that time, because you see a brother doing it, you think you can, and then now it's hindering you from your growth. It says, give not that unto it. So once you identify what harms your spirit, cut it off. So if it's harming you, cut it off. Or it might not be for you at that time. Like this First Corinthians 10 and this 1 Corinthians chapter 6 is going to go into. It says this 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 23 say all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. So even though it's lawful, it might not be expedient for you right now. It say all things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. It might not. It's stopping you from building. It's stopping you from growing. But 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 12, I like how this worded. It's saying the same thing. But it says, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. So we can't let our desires, our lusts, have reign over us. Being subjected unto those things to where we're not checking it. We're feeding it more than the spirit. So seeing what's bad for us and cut it off. This Sirach chapter 37 verse 28, for all things are not profitable for all men, neither had every soul pleasure in everything. So knowing what's profitable for your growth, knowing what's profitable for your endurance, for you. Not because you see the next man doing it, but what's beneficial for you. Looking within yourself and seeing what's beneficial for you and what's not. And making those adjustments. Speaking to myself first and foremost. Verse 28, it say, this verse teaches discernment and individuality. And individuality, it say all things are not profitable for all men. Like I just read in that Sirach. I'm tweaking. That is. It's like this Sirach chapter 37 verse 28 say, for all things are not profitable for all men, neither had every soul pleasure in everything. And this what the the chat was going into Salaki on that. It's like this verse teaches discernment and individuality. All things are not profitable for all men. What helps one person might destroy another. Example, one man can handle wealth without pride, another becomes consumed by it. One may fast easily, another may struggle physically. It's about knowing what builds you up spiritually. And that's the point, knowing what builds you up spiritually. Knowing what's helping you. Not being like the next man. Of course, we follow man according to the spirit. But when it comes to your conduct, the way you live and the way you moving, see what your desires, your lust, and see what those things are, and see what you're indulging yourself into more, or what you allowing to have power over you or to have reign over you, and to fix it. It says, neither had every soul pleasure in everything. It says, not every desire is natural for every person, and not every pleasure is beneficial. It said it teaches, don't follow what others enjoy just because they enjoy it. Know what aligns with your spiritual growth. So taking those nuggets from others that aligns with your spiritual growth. Because once again, a way another brother is moving might not be beneficial at that time. Might not be beneficial for you at that time. Or it might not be beneficial for you at all. But just knowing what aligns with your spiritual growth, knowing what aligns with your conduct and the way you're living in the ways of Yahweh Shema Shai to further your experience, your growth, your maturity in Yahweh Shema Shai. It says overall meaning. It says these verses are about self-awareness, spiritual discipline. That's key. Self-awareness, spiritual discipline, knowing your weaknesses, avoiding what corrupts your spirit. That's why we're here. And Lord will is all the way unto salvation, to the deliverance. But avoiding what corrupts our spirit. Seeing what those things are, those weaknesses, those things that's corrupting you, and having those spiritual, habits, in those areas to help you, to help further your growth, to help you mature spiritually. It says not copying others blindly. It says, in short, know yourself spiritually, identify what weakens you, and deny it even if others can handle it. So knowing what's weakens you and deny those things. Just because others can do it don't mean you can. It might not be good for you at the time. Or like I mentioned, at all. So avoiding what corrupts your spirit. Having a spiritual discipline in these areas, which allows you to grow and to be a better version of yourself. First and foremost for Yahweh Shema Shai and for the next man. This Romans chapter 12 verse 4 say, for as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office. So we being many are one body in Mashiach, and every one members one of another. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. So moving in the way that, in the sense of what the Lord gave you, in the gift that the Lord gave you, knowing what's best for you and perfecting in that. Because we all got different portions. So don't try to just be like the next man because he able to do this and do that, or he this wise, and like, no, do what's sufficient for you. This 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 4, it say, now there are diversities of gifts, but the same spirit. This is tying into that Romans once again, and the whole, lesson. Say, now there are diversities of gifts, but the same spirit, and there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same power which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal, to what profits you. So that portion of the Spirit is given to you on what's profitable for you, what profits you. And it takes discernment and discipline to know these things. Know yourself. You got to know yourself to know where you fit in, what's best for you, and what's not. This Proverbs chapter 25, verse 16. It says, "Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it." And we don't want that. We don't want to eat too much. We don't want to do too much in the spirit. And it also could be likened unto how we conduct ourselves as a whole, as our character. Not just in the spirit, not just in word, but as a man. So it says, "Hast thou find honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee." So seeing what's sufficient for you. And this honey is likened unto the word, which is multiple scriptures, which I gathered to tie into that point. This is Psalm chapter 119 and 103. It say, "How sweet are thy words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my mouth." So just tying in the word to that honey. So not eating too much in the spirit to where you go, which I'm going to jump down real fast because I got it here. This Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 16. It say, "Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself?" So don't eat too much so that you don't destroy yourself. So eat what is sufficient for you. And that's the same with having that self-examination on things that's beneficial for you and what's not. Having that balance, that self-control, and that discipline in those areas. Like, I'm doing this too much. Let me cut that off. Let me stop doing that for a little minute. Let me feed the spirit. But it says, this is Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel." So eat these scriptures, consume what's written, consume these precepts within us, and then teach our people. It says, "So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them." So just tying in this word to honey. So we got to eat this roll and then teach the people. So we got to be examples on who to follow. And our apostles and elders is that perfect example on who to follow, because they're paving the way to our Lord and Savior. They showing us the way of salvation, and we're coming in their stead doing the same. But my point was to show what's sufficient for you and to not do too much, because you don't want to destroy yourself, like we just read in Ecclesiastes 7 and 16. This Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 1. It said, "A false balance is an abomination to Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight." So we got to make sure we're doing it within our life as well, having that balance, that temperance. Because a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. So we don't want to be indulged in something more than in the spirit. Outside of the spirit. We don't want to indulge in things outside of the spirit than in the spirit. So finding that fine balance in that. Because you got to feed the flesh, of course. But we don't want to feed the flesh too much. So making sure that we examine ourselves. So it says, test yourself, examine your own desire, habits, and weaknesses and tendencies. And we got to do so. Having that self-control, that self-examination, and that discernment in these areas so that we can be better versions of ourselves for one another, and most importantly for Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, so that we could come into the fullness of his image. So Lord, would this lesson is edifying. I want to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wachakodash. I want to get double honors to our apostles and elders who gave millstone, who rule well, and peace, blessing, and salutations to the whole elect of Israel. Shalom, Kwam Yashala.